document by me, here it is, electronically in the RAS via ECMS's PennDOT's grants system, with no signature line, but rather only an electronic acknowledgement of acceptance. This is specifically for the NBIS National Bridge Inspection System that you awarded to Wilson Consulting a few meetings ago. So this is just authorizing me to go ahead and check a box.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for the electronic signature on PennDOT forms.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comment or question regarding the resolution? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. So moved.
Okay, so we still have a little bit of time here before Stiefel comes in. Just by way of update, I guess we've had some activity on the budget. You have a copy of it. We have yesterday we talked a little bit with Building and Grounds. Intend to have a visit with the judge hopefully next week to talk about some of the things in his budget. My schedule hopefully is still on for presentation December 2nd of the budget, 20 days on the table, and final adoption December 23rd. Hopefully we can stick to that schedule. We're obligated to the 20 days. I guess worst case scenario, we would go to the last Thursday of the month, but I'm hoping we can avoid that, and there won't be much difference that takes place between the second and then anyhow. So at this point we have a deficit. We've had a deficit for the last 3 years. It's grown this year due to a couple of things that have been building. One thing literally being built is the 911 DES building, and that is increasing our debt service by an estimated $1.4 million, which is something that we've anticipated, we've known was going to happen over a couple of years. The upside to that is that eventually that will go down slightly as some of our old debt drops off and levels out a bit, not completely. It's not an even leveling, but it'll reduce in 2023 and beyond. And the big one, however, is back in 2019 when the county entered into a contract with PrimeCare for medical services at the jail. That's something that we did not have offsetting revenue for at the time. We've not had offsetting revenue since, and it has just been basically a year-to-year out-of-pocket that needs to be made up somewhere, whether it's through revenue increase in millage or through some cuts that would make up that difference. So it's just an update at this point. So in another 2 weeks we'll hopefully have a budget here on the table and present it. And any questions on that, we can talk about them now. And then at 10:30, when I refer to this high-speed week, yesterday afternoon we had bid openings for the DES Building 911 Center. I'm relieved that the numbers came in. You'll hear more about this, but the numbers came in almost exactly where they were estimated to be a year ago, which is incredible in this environment right now with materials and supplies and so on. So we'll talk about that more when they get here. So anything more with that?
Do you have an idea what the deficit is?
Currently it stands about $8.5 million. We have for the last couple of years used carry forward cash to balance it, which is something you can't continue to do forever, but we've been able to do it for the last couple of years. But really that, since the last millage increase you recall was 2016, we were balanced for a few years following that, and then the PrimeCare, the need to go to PrimeCare and that contract set us in the other direction. And with everything increasing as it does, we've just been increasing in deficit for the last 2 years, and here we are.
So what was the game plan to offset the cost of PrimeCare? I mean, obviously nobody could anticipate COVID, but at some point the piper was going to come due.
Right. That's kind of where we are. We've been able to swing it to balance the last couple of years, but we won't have that carry forward cash forever.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, in fairness, I think we had reached a point in time where we needed to bring PrimeCare on board. We were like an island, and an island facing challenges because of the not having that type of health care. So we knew then that it was an exorbitant, you know, not exorbitant, but a large fee, and it was not budgeted when we instituted it. So we, you know, as like Jamie said, we knew we were going to be faced with that coming down the road. But I think it's important to note that we have special situations. We'll take PrimeCare, and we'll take the 911 building that we know has been needed for a long, long time, and those things certainly make the budget process more difficult. But I think it's also important to note that the health care is going up by $1 million, and that we continue to give our employees raises year after year after year, and it's expected in our society. So no matter how hard, we worked really, really hard, and we bit the bullet on the tax increase to get the county in a good financial position. But just through the course of doing business day after day and keeping employees happy and providing the services, that balanced budget erodes away just by the nature of the process. So it's something that has to be looked at and renewed and rejuvenated from time to time, no matter what level of government. So.
Well, there is, I mean, and you've referenced the school boards, the school districts, and you know, the tax or the bonds that they float on a seemingly regular basis to build buildings and such. There is a belief in the school board community that they should raise their taxes, you know, even if just modestly on a year-over-year basis, just to kind of create that cushion to not have to then have what is considered a massive tax increase one particular year. And I'm just wondering, and I know that that's not something that you necessarily would favor, but might that be a consideration going forward, given just as what Commissioner Ames has said, the health insurance is going up, you've got to pay the 911 building and all these things. To maybe have, not that I'm pushing for it, I'm a county resident too, but not that I would want to see a regular year-over-year county tax increase, but might that be a way to deal with this?
Anybody want to grab that?
Go ahead, Bob, grab it.
My feeling is that we've gone as long as we can, and now we have to do something, but we don't know to what extent. Year over year is it's one school of thought, but it is not prevalent, because there's a big faction out there that would just say, make more cuts, do what you have to do, and live within your means and so on. And you can only do that with 6 unions, and Bill alluded to the, just the general costs of things going up. They catch up with you. So in an ideal situation, that would be an answer that, or even every 2 years, something like that. But as long as we could keep squeezing, and we had a couple things break our way in terms of refunds and other things, that it just allowed us to get this far, that we went as far as we could go. Now we're faced with some of these bigger projects that have all seemed to come at the same time, and we're going to have to figure out how to make it work.
I think that's, to that point, there were some one-time, things that broke our way. There were some one-time items that we could do to get through these last couple of years. We reconfigured the way we pay our health insurance premium. We were paying at maximum rates. We moved to paying expected rates, similar to, we would be getting, we'd have a cushion there for the health insurance through the year in case costs went up, but then if the end of the year came in as expected, we would get a refund. It's very similar to, paying your federal taxes, and then you paid too much and you get it back. So what we did was we dialed that in and got to the expected. So that relieved the budget a little bit, but you can only do that one time. And that's an example of those one-time things that you can enact, but you don't have them every year.
And now instead of, just for the example of the healthcare, instead of having that cushion built in, we're going up $1 million roughly.
Yeah.
So that's the difference in the approach. But
So are you maybe suggesting to county residents, strap yourself in, there might be something coming your way in terms of a tax increase?
I don't see how we can avoid it, something.
We could avoid it, but it certainly wouldn't be a good move for the residents of the county. We could forego the 911 center again, and we know that the existing 911 center has serious issues and cannot meet the needs. So what better reason to raise taxes than public safety? And I think a great part of what we're going to have to do here is based on public safety needs and meeting those needs for the county.
Yep, this will give us the backup that we've, when we started 10 years ago, they were talking about a 911 backup. This
In
will-
a garage, yeah.
Just a lot of things that fills a lot of those, or checks a lot of those boxes, and the radios are timing out. That's another factor that you can't control, that we have to address. So it's things, as Bill mentioned, it's 100% of the county is going to be impacted by this in a safety way, so that you can't do much better than that with your tax dollars. Commissioner Litz?
I'm just glad to hear that the two of you are still on board with the 911 center. I've been lobbying for it for a long time, and the time has come, and it's going to be done right. It's going to serve the future. It's going to serve not just our generation, but generations to come. It's one of those long-term investments that will not only serve us, but give us peace of mind. And I look at what we were facing in the basement between flooding and being written up by both PEMA and FEMA for crowded space, and that was before we had COVID. To manage an emergency down there right now is next to impossible. So this 911 center is something that's really, really needed. I mean, we've had fire, not drills, but I think it was a popcorn or something burning and set off our fire alarms internally. We had to evacuate the building, and it just re-emphasizes why our 911 center should not be in the same building as the courts and others, because they have a duty to do. And if there was a real bomb threat or a real fire, the people who have to dispatch our emergency people would have to stay in the building, and they could not dispatch. It just doesn't make sense to have them in this building. So I truly believe, I'm sorry, were you going to talk?
No, I am going to talk, but go ahead.
Okay. I truly believe that our budget will reflect some increase. I don't think it's going to be what you hear today. I heard some relatively, even though they're high, but not as high as could have been, numbers, and I'm thinking we can make some adjustments downward. I'm looking forward to making it reasonable in what we ask the public to accept. In fact, I have 25 questions I want to go through with Jamie. Maybe there's legitimate answers, but I see some things here that I'd like to look at to make sure that our budget is as trim as it can be.
You got them all on that card?
Well, yeah, I just put my page numbers and a couple reference what I'm looking at, and that's how I do it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're willing to support the 911 center and the cost of that. I appreciate that you're willing to do that. let that one hang out there.
Tell me
No,
when
I-
you're ready for.
I think, yeah, I certainly accept it as a compliment that you're glad that the two of us are willing to support the 911 center. I don't think there was ever any question about that.
We voted for the bond.
Exactly. You know, the question hanging out there was, since you've not been willing to support a tax increase at least in my recent memory, it's encouraging to me to hear you say that you're going to be willing to support a tax increase in order to make these things happen. So I certainly compliment you on that.
Okay, anything else, Jamie?
No, not on that. I'm ready to bring Steve in then.
Okay. Did you know Mel Burnell's wife died?
No.
Yeah. He's in the hospital.
Well, they've both been infirm for 5 years, probably.
Yeah, it was like just a couple of days ago, I think.